What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Slate. It's great to have you here with us. It is a special Thursday sports edition. What that means is obviously we're not married to one particular sport. We're not even necessarily married to sports. We can do whatever the heck we want. Off-air show, we were talking a little bit about the TV show Winning Time. And you know what? It's winning time for potentially 3 teams tonight in the NBA to close out their series. We'll get to that here and so much more. Nick Fryer, Adam Kaufman, Reed T. Fowler will be along in a little bit to mix in some NFL draft and also some PGA a little later in the show. Nick, how are you, man?
I don't know how the heck we have 3 game sixes tonight. It's a little unsettling. 666, obviously a big issue, as a movie guy, but I don't understand how the Suns are at this point, or I guess the Pelicans have pushed it to this point. I thought that was going to be, if there was going to be a sweep, I think that was the one I was picking, other than maybe Heat Hawks, and neither of those was the sweep that we got.
It is interesting, so it's certainly that is not the most compelling game of the night for me, at least. I mean, you've got, like you said, at 7:30 Eastern. So just over 2 hours from now, we're going to have that game, which for whatever reason, I'm looking at the DraftKings Sportsbook and we'll show you odds and that sort of thing, lines, props, everything else in a little bit. That game just went off the board a second ago. I assume it's going to come back momentarily. I don't think there was any big news in that one. You mentioned just as we were coming on that Fred VanVleet for Toronto has been ruled out, so he's not going to play because of that hip. That to me, though, that Toronto Philadelphia game is the one. As interesting, obviously, as the Suns, trying to advance without Devin Booker, and they will. That's not going to be a problem against the Pelicans. Or, the later game, Luka probably goes off again for Dallas. We'll find out. They advance past Utah in all likelihood. We'll see if Donovan Mitchell plays. I would guess he will in an elimination contest. But the game of the night, the game that the series that even the Celtics fan in me that is just wants to talk all things Celtics Bucks all the time. There is nothing in this moment, Nick, that I am more invested in than whether Philadelphia can go 7 games with Toronto on the heels of a 3-0 series lead, and Doc Rivers being very much up in his noggin about 3-1 blown series leads on his resume.
This is brutal. This is like, I don't know how I'm sorry. I know how you get to this point, but it just goes to show how bad Philadelphia has been at building around Joel Embiid over the years. Obviously last year it was the meniscus thing for him last year. Now he's got the thumb thing. And look, to me, like, there's no knock on Joel Embiid and all this. Like, he's got a legitimate issue. He had a legitimate issue last year, powered through it. He's doing it again. He didn't go and he's not taking any days off. So he has my respect. I know, regular season, people making fun of Jokic and seeing what he did coming into the postseason and all that. Embiid is in a different situation. Even Jokic, he didn't have Murray, but I have, to me, this is hard, and this just makes him look terrible again, which I don't know about you, Adam, but that definitely bothers me to my core. I hate seeing James Harden. I hate seeing Ben Simmons or Kyrie Irving going through these tough times. It's really rough. So I
can't tell if you're being sincere or not.
I'm totally being sarcastic. I don't feel bad for any of those guys at all. You know what I mean?
Ever.
Not to make fun of, I know Ben Simmons has got some real stuff going on, but it's getting a little bit where I have a tough time buying some of it when the back's flaring up because of, anyways. But yeah, I would love to see this get pushed to a game 7. And guess what? It could happen because Fred VanVleet didn't play last game, and we're still here. We still have this series. So I think when you look at this one, if you wanted to, what's the spread right now? I'm
1.5
right now, 1.5,
yeah.
And then straight up. The Raptors are underdogs. I'm going with the Raptors tonight. Absolutely going with the Raptors in this one. They've already proven that they can beat this team. I don't need the points. Take the little extra juice.
And there are certainly some good fantasy plays too, if people want to look at that. Whether it's OG Anunoby, Fred or Pascal Siakam's in a great spot. You could look at Scotty Barnes, who's back now in the series, is a good opportunity tonight. We can dive into some of the DFS in a second. I love. Now, I love taking the stroll down narrative street, Nick, and in any sport, in any walk of life that we discuss, sports or otherwise. I love the narratives. I get excited when the Bucks are playing in a visiting building has Greek heritage appreciation night. Yes, Giannis night. Let's go. So the fact that Doc, with the 3-1 series leads blown again, Orlando, the Clippers, it's been a tough situation for him, but despite success, I feel like it's sort of the water has found its level. Like, people now know, Doc Rivers for all those years was just a really overrated head coach. But now the fact that he is acknowledging these collapses with no accountability whatsoever. Like you hear him yesterday talking about it, and I was saying earlier, like there's a fine line. I don't know where that line is, but there's a fine line between giving context and making excuses. And he is very much crossed over into the excuses realm. I mean, he called out his roster in Orlando for that series. Like, well, did you see who I was coaching? Like, so when your coach is thinking about it at this stage, that's just not good for your roster.
No, it's not at all. And and this would be a 3-0 like one if he blew it too, right?
Which has never happened.
Yeah. So this is this is pretty remarkable. And I gotta say, like with Doc Rivers too, you bring up what he said about the teams over the years and like how like he struggled with the Magic and what have you. When he left the Celtics, he left because he did not want to be part of the rebuild. He just wanted to be on the next good team. And hey, that has gotten him quite a few awesome opportunities. So like good on him in that regard. But at the same time, if you don't deliver, then at some point, like, it's on you, dude. And clearly, like in this situation, again, I do feel for Embiid. Like this series would be over if Embiid wasn't dealing with that hand issue. And I think the Sixers, that would kind of mask a lot of issues that they have. But right now, man, like you still have James Harden. Like seriously, for all as much as I want to make fun of James Harden, this should be enough to get it done. James Harden in like an 80% or 75% Joel Embiid, whoever you're playing in the first round, unless it's the 3 teams above them in the standings, they should be able to get this done in 4, at most 5, assuming Scott Foster refs game 4 in those situations. But I guess it isn't, it's brutal. It's embarrassing for him that he's going to this point. And as a guy who, loved the Celtics growing up, I don't like seeing this out of him.
I'm looking at some of the DFS opportunities that are available to people tonight. If you're making a 3-game classic lineup, like leaving the showdown out of it, obviously for all 3 games. So your highest price guys, your stars, they're all in really great spots tonight, all projected to have, 45 points or better, upwards of almost 60, whether it's Luka, Embiid, Siakam, Paul, Harden. Like you can make a compelling case to roster any of those guys or some combination of 2 of those guys very, very easily. I will tell you an optimal lineup, and everyone sort of looks at different sites, obviously, but an optimal lineup that I am looking at right now has Paul, has Siakam, which means it doesn't have any of those other guys, doesn't have Harden, doesn't have Embiid, doesn't have Luka. How would you look at this slate, again, just 3 games, and decide who am I willing to fade?
Yeah, I think you have. So you're absolutely right that you have to have at least 2 high-end guys. Maybe try and find a way to sneak in an Ayton. I would probably stay away from Rudy Gobert in the Beast thing, unless you think he's going to go and have an MJ flu game as a result of that. I wouldn't buy that personally. If you're looking at those 2 guys over 10K, I would go with Luka over Joel Embiid. Again, the hand issue, like look at what he's done the last couple games, sub 40 DK fantasy points. I can't pay for a guy at 10, over 10K when he's going to be providing that. So to me, if you're picking one of the 2 high priced, Luka is the easy one. He's just looked great since he's returned. And if you go and pay up for him, let's say you go for Luka, and you're trying to find a way to weasel in one of these other guys over 8K, you got to go all the way down to CJ McCollum. It's going to make it tough still. I don't know that you can necessarily find that right lineup, especially if you're trying to mix in an Ayton or even maybe a Valanciunas. But I think right now, I think McCollum is in a good spot because they need all the offense they can get to hang with the Suns. And I know the Suns are a good defensive team and everything like that. And that's where it's going to lead them primarily. But we've seen McCollum, he's getting a consistent volume. That's not going to go down. And obviously he's doing a ton of work on the glass too. What is it in 5 out of these? What is it? They played 5 games, 4 out of these 5 games. He has had 8+ rebounds. The assist numbers are pretty high too. So with him, I feel comfortable if you're trying to get one of those higher echelon guys, and then looking for one of the lower end 8K guys.
So it's not just DFS that's available to us. Obviously, we have the DraftKings Sportsbook. You write for us. You have your best bets article. What stands out to you if people are thinking about where to send their money here a couple hours away from lock?
Yeah, so I know we talked just a little bit about that Pelicans game, but that's the one that I feel like when we're talking from the sportsbook angle, I have the I don't have as good a feel as I do the other two. One thing I've been leaning on a lot, Adam, throughout the course of the postseason has been the first quarter totals. I know our guy Julian Edlow likes to back the Grizzlies in the first quarter a ton, rightfully so. They have been great. I've been looking at team totals and I've been looking at just overall totals in the first quarter. And one that I haven't touched yet, but I am tonight is going to be the Raptors over 26 and a half points in the first quarter. And I did highlight it on the DK playbook, but when you look at this team, they averaged 27 points a game in the first quarter throughout the regular season. The Sixers gave up over 27 points in the first quarter throughout the regular season. And obviously defense is tightened up and everything. Totally understand that. Have seen some teams where, Mavericks, Jazz, I'm usually leaning more towards the under on the total in the first quarters there. But when you look at 76ers Raptors, the 76ers have given up, they've given up 29 plus points, I think, in every first quarter, to the Raptors, other than in game 3. So they've been hammering this over is my point throughout all this. So as much as the 76ers were one of the better first quarter teams defensively throughout the regular season, they, unlike some other teams where they've tightened up, they've just pretty much been the same. So that's leading me to feel like very comfortable at taking the over here. And I know you got lay a little bit of juice here at minus 125, but still the value's there in this one. I feel this one, the other bet I have, I'm pretty comfortable. I'm very comfortable with the other one too, but I think if I had to pick just one of the two that I gave, I'd probably go with the Raptors first quarter total.
The Suns and Pelicans, you mentioned, obviously, just the fact that this is in game 6, like how to get here in the first place. Well, one thing that is notable about tonight and the Suns' desire to close out this series, obviously, Adrian Wojnarowski just a little while ago on Twitter, the expectation Devin Booker was not going to play in this game. Look, Devin Booker, though, with the strained hamstring, is expected to play in game 6. He's expected to test the ligament pregame warmups. If all goes well, he'll be back on the floor after missing the last 3 games. So aside from, I assume, officially locking this down and just moving things on for Phoenix, what does this do for you? I mean, is there any impact for you from a betting perspective or even a DFS perspective with Booker being available now?
Yeah, so this whole thing, this is why I've been kind of staying away from this, because this is so perplexing what the heck is going on with them. And then you're talking about dealing with a hamstring, and look, the hamstring is not pulled hamstring or whatever is not the the worst thing in the world. Obviously everybody can come back from that. You and I can come back from that kind of injury, but like, this can bother him and this can be a nagging thing. It's like an oblique. It's just something that you don't like. You have a certain feel on it day to day, and can pop up out of nowhere where it can nag him over time. I don't understand why they're trying to force him back in right now. Like, to me, I like, and now we've got all the Sun stuff off the board right now. This is why I was saying, like, I don't have a good feel for this one, because the whole Booker situation seems a little bit odd. I think the Suns are going to finish this thing off. And if you have Booker, even for like 15 minutes, I would think that'd make a huge difference, even if you're just using him as a decoy. But yeah, this is an odd one, Adam. I don't love this game.
So movement's considerable, actually. What was it? I think the Suns were 2-point favorites when we started the show, and now with the Booker news, it's 3.5.
Yeah. It's and I'm waiting to see what those player props looks like too, because I'm starting to think, like, with Paul, where he's been the last couple of games, I know he's been having to do a little bit extra, but I got to imagine that's dropped a little bit. So if you got, I don't know if you got how you have 22 last game, for the game before that, 28 the game before that. Yeah, this is a weird one. This is why I like that Mavericks game a little bit more too. The other points prop that I had tonight was Jalen Brunson's over on 20 and a half points. I don't understand this number. And that's a good thing, because he's gone over this every single time. And if you look at the volume that this guy's getting, to have this at 20 and a half and then have it at minus 110, to me, it's just, I don't know. Like, I'm very confused, like, to the point where I was like second guessing myself a little bit. But I mean, the volume that he's getting 18 plus shots up a game. He's getting in 5 of those. Each game has been 3/4, except for like 3-pointers, except for one of those games. He's getting to the free throw line at least 5 times a game. He should, I mean, like, with as much as Luka is the one that's running the show over there, you need to, like, he's going to have to provide a significant amount of offense. And he's been doing that. And the Jazz have not really found a way to stop him. And the thing I did note on DK Playbook as well, Adam, with this one, if you want to get a little bit more of a payout because it's minus 110, I suggest looking at the same game parlays. If you go and look on and you pair his, was it 20.5 points, the over on that with over 2.5 assists, that brings it up to plus 165. Now I know it's not as high as hit the special that you have up there right now at 25 points, but I feel a lot more comfortable with that because he's also gone over that assist total in every game of the postseason so far too.
Reed Fowler is going to join us here momentarily, and we'll get into a little bit of the NFL draft. Nick will stick around for that as well. I know he's been paying close attention to all things leading up to the draft in a few hours as well. But before we do that, let's get into a little bit of baseball. It's not just NBA. It's been a busy day, Nick, obviously, on the diamond across the country here. I'll pull up what we've got going on. So a lot of games have already gone final.
I just need to vent for a quick second. So please, I had one of the so I gave a few picks out today before the show and everything, and one of them was
on the Swift.
Well, this was just on Twitter. I try and do that occasionally. So at Nick_Fryer, make sure you go follow me there. But one of the ones that I gave out that didn't come through, I am so mad about, and I was actually at the gym when this came up. So it's Tyler Mahle under 15.5 outs recorded. So that means he doesn't get past the first out of the 6th inning. And I'm at the gym and I check the score and he's been shoving through the first 5 innings. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's not going to come through whatever it happens. But I was like, well, it could, crazier things have happened. Mally's had a rough start to the season. That's why I went with this pick. And then I go and check later. He went 5 1/3 innings. He gave up like a hit or a walk. The next guy got out and then he got smacked around. I was like, you just couldn't. I think it was Tyler Naquin. And I just want you to know you are on my
you're on the list.
You're on the list right now. I'm not happy at all with that one.
That's 2 gym mentions for Nick. Don't shame me, Nick. Don't you dare shame me.
I appreciate that you took it that way, other than way like someone else would say, "Well, you get it, you work out." Thank you. I'm not trying to shame you.
I prefer to take it much more personally. Rather than you bettering yourself, you're worsening me. Is what that was. Shoe fits, right? So we have 2 games in progress right now. My beloved Red Sox are trailing because that's what they do this season. But we have 2 games later on tonight. In fact, we're a couple hours away from the start of that first one on the short night slate, and that's the Cubs in Atlanta. You also have the Diamondbacks in St. Louis. Those 2 games starting during the 7 o'clock Eastern hour. I was just putting together very quickly a little 2-game classic lineup, and looks like Kyle Wright obviously is going to be very popular. Dakota Hudson is going to be very popular as far as the pitchers go. In fact, their ownership projections are insanely high. Wright is sitting at like 80% projected ownership on the 2-gamer. But how are you evaluating this? Are you what I'm looking at is mostly Atlanta and St. Louis as far as, filling out a lineup. Would that be your approach?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair way to go with this one, because Drew Smyly is another guy who I think is an easy one to target, an easy lefty to target, especially when you're looking at Acuna coming back tonight. And I know, look, he's still at a pretty high price at, 5.2K tonight. But I think another guy that's worth kind of looking at too, Marcell Ozuna. I know he has slowed up a little bit over the course of this season, but still a guy that I think anytime you're facing a lefty, he's worth at least throwing a dart at, especially when it's 3.8K. So pretty reasonable price with some pretty high upside for him. But yeah, I think that's a pretty safe way to go. Although, no, yeah, you got Dakota Hudson going tonight for the Cardinals. Actually, yeah, and I gave out a couple Hudson picks. I actually, Hudson is at 7.3K. Obviously, very limited options when it comes to pitching. I don't think, obviously it's only 4 guys. I don't think you can go any other way than Wright and Hudson when you're looking at your pitching matchups, because Hudson's coming off a good start. And I was looking at the Arizona numbers. That's why I gave out 2 picks with Hudson. It's like weak contact, no, not a lot of extra base hits, the lowest OPS against right-handed pitching. So for the Diamondbacks. So I think Hudson's actually one of my favorite guys going tonight.
Yeah, it's interesting. There really need to find that one guy who's 10% owned for differentiation, because everybody else is going to be, with it only being 2 games, everybody else is going to be incredibly popular tonight. But speaking of dart throws, let's talk about the NFL draft. Begins tonight out in Las Vegas, where I know our guy Reed Fowler would much rather be, at least if he had to join us, better to be on Zoom from Vegas than, be sitting here where he's normally sitting. But alas, these are the breaks that we all have to deal with. Reed, Nick Fryer, of course, is here, and Adam Kaufman. If you are joining us late, we appreciate you hanging out here with us, guys. Reed, first off, welcome. Good to see you.
Hello, gentlemen.
What's up, Reed?
Are you excited? Are you excited about the draft? I mean, for a lot of people, it's like Christmas morning for people, the draft.
I've talked about the draft more times than I'd like to admit. I got how many mock drafts have we done, Nick? How many times have you talked about Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal? And I feel like I know like the blood types of these guys now. So
I still got to do that.
Play dress up here on the slate the way he did on the draft preview show.
So okay. So here's the thing. I didn't know, like I took Nick's cue on this. I didn't know we were acting as if we were the team. I thought, okay, this is like, we're going to like mock as if, you know, where we think these guys are going to go. But then I think early on, especially with Nick coming in hot, if pick one, you know, I think that sort of the draft took a life of its own.
Well, I'm glad that it did. I ran it by the producers and said, hey, can I do these? Like, I have these ideas for the costumes and stuff like that.
Thank God you did.
Can I just say it was so perfect that Emerson liked that sideways hat that I was wearing? Because I mean, I'm being a Jacksonville guy, and he instantly compliments me. It's like, oh wow, I guess
the only other thing that would have been better is if you had a mullet. That was the only other thing that if Jacksonville's going to pick one again next year,
or a mustache.
So Nick, just get a mullet next year, and we'll keep you at Jacksonville.
So
you could have had a stash that's just like a Gardner Minshew tribute or something like that.
Yeah, or jorts. Next time jorts. Just do jorts, and so we just did the angle of the jorts.
I can't believe he was wearing shorts in the middle of it. Unbelievable.
Guy wears shorts 30 degrees out.
I was just doing it for like fun. And then like the Trayvon Walker thing. Yeah. I mean, like we're looking at the odds and everything and all the hype around it. I'm not saying I wouldn't take Hutchinson. I was looking at it as trying to think like the Jaguars. It was a very dark place for me these last few days. So I am glad that part of my life is done. But yeah, thinking like the Jaguars, thinking like the Texans, like, no, thank you. But that's why I went that route. But it was interesting how different our stuff kind of laid out versus a lot of the other mocks that I've been looking at before and since our draft. It's been a little wild.
Well, I mean, is there a consensus between the two of you? Like this is, you know, you outlined the two guys. I don't know if we're looking at the DraftKings Sportsbook odds right now for draft picks tonight, but obviously Jacksonville perennially on the clock, it feels like, at number one. Trayvon Walker is the favorite at minus 450 to go number one, but you have Aiden Hutchinson at plus 400 right behind him. Detroit picking number two, Houston at number three. We'll see, obviously, if there are trades, anything shakes anything out tonight. There are some people out there, certainly in the NFL community, that are expecting this to just be a bananas night with all sorts of trades and movement and whatever else ends up happening. I'll get your thoughts on that in just a moment, but Reed, you here. I mean, do you think this is going to go as the odds are projecting it, or is there going to be an upset of sorts?
I'd like there to be an upset, just because I love when chaos ensues at the very onset, because then that the trickle down effect, the dominoes, we know it, and a much more high leverage, season long fantasy football draft, when things happen like Adam Kaufman takes a kicker first round, then everyone thinks kickers are going to go off the board. Then it's a run on kickers. So no,
that's never happened, Nick.
That's never happened. What I'm saying is,
what Reed should have said is when Koff drafts 5 tight ends.
Right. Yeah. When he's exactly. But when you take a look at 1 and 2, I think it's, even if you take a look at the parlays under DraftKings specials, you look at Walker and Hutchinson being 1-2. I think it's pretty safe that it's going to go that way. Now, would he be my number one, to what Nick was saying? And I think this is the reason why mock drafts are inherently incorrect, is because there's so many different perspectives on how people mock, right? One is how Nick was saying, what is this team going to do? That's one way. Number two is, what should this team, what should they do? They should go Iquanu. They should go Evan Neal. They should go offensive line, because you drafted your franchise quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, who's the best prospect since Andrew Luck, basically, right? And if you don't protect him, he's going to end up like Andrew Luck, being out of the league in 6 or 7 years, probably 13. He should have had a 13-year career for Andrew Luck, and it got cut short because he was getting hit all the time early in his season, early in his career. Having said that, right, when you have a guy like Trayvon Walker and how he can be multiple on that defensive line, I can go inside, outside. When he has that athletic ability, I take it it's sort of a hybrid approach to what Nick was talking about, of what this team's going to do, right? Trent Baalke loves the Walker prototype. Number two, what they should do is you need someone like Walker who can play multiple positions. And he has that DeForest Buckner. He has a little bit of he's not Aaron Donald by any stretch, but he has the ability, right, to go on the edge and in the inside. And he's got you just saw him at the combine. It was fantastic. Aiden Hutchinson's a little hamstrung in that sense where he's only playing edge. Trayvon Walker can do a lot. So that's why he's jumping up these boards. And even last week, guys, he was plus money. He was plus 190, I think, last week to be the first overall pick. So it's changed drastically in a week.
Nick, all I'm hearing here is that, like, you know, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, like they're not going to be the Vontae Mack tonight, basically. That's what I want. I want the piece of paper. It says, you know, Vontae Mack no matter what.
You know what I want is DraftKings Sportsbook to get their act together, because I don't know why we don't have a prop on how many times we're going to have players mention that they played basketball in high school or had options to go play in college. I did bring that. I was the only one. I was very disappointed, actually, Reed. You fall under blame for this too. Nobody else in the DK live draft brought this up. And how many times are we going to hear that throughout the course of the night? Oh, this guy was a 3-sport athlete in high school. You know, he had a chance to play college basketball too, and he turned it down to go play at Georgia. No, none of that. We didn't get I don't know why we don't have a prop on that. I would set the over under at 15.5 times, and I would take the over on that too. I don't know if that's okay for me to set the line and then take the over too, but I'm doing it anyways.
You know what I heard too, and watching all the stuff on NFL Network or other programs, Charles Davis, and I really like his coverage, and I really like how his synopsis on player profiles and scouting. He and this is true, right? These guys talk about it all the time. In live TV, you guys both know you need to fill time. And it's the easiest to cross-reference sports. And now I'm hearing fast break offense, right? Like NFL offenses want to be fast break, right? Positionless football, right? It's only a matter of time when all these things interchange, right? Deebo Samuel is positionless, right? We just talked about Trayvon Walker is positionless.
Cordero Patterson is positionless football. Like, you know, once upon a time, positionless football, I guess, would just mean like you have the ability to play a number of spots on the line, but you never thought of it as like, well, he's a receiver and a tight end. He's a receiver and a running back. You know, Julian Edelman was once a quarterback in college. I don't know if you've heard.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Positionless football.
I mean, they got rid of all the number stuff, right? They can do it now if they want to, right? Let's line up freaking Vince Wilfork in the backfield. Let's do it. I'm here for it.
Well, it makes sense too from a monetary and a fiscal standpoint, right? A, you sell more jerseys. B, it's, you know, if your favorite player is sporting a 33, unless he's Alonzo Mourning, like it doesn't feel right when your favorite player has like a double-digit number for whatever reason. I don't know why. It just
really
feels weird. Especially in football. Like in football.
I guess maybe, I mean, I don't know. You get the occasional like Luka's like 77 or Dennis Rodman.
Let's say, but the jerseys in basketball are very different.
Yeah, right? I don't know. I mean, I got a bunch of jerseys when I was a kid, and I can't remember once ever thinking like I wanted a jersey because I like the team or I like the player. I like the number never even entered my mind. I don't care.
Really? I just thought it was so much like in college too, when like the big defensive lineman like Jadeveon Clowney had number 7. I thought that was so cool. Like a big dude with like, he had number 7, and he was just this massive, like he's just like this massive guy with this small number. Like, he's a bad man.
No way. No, see, you know what? My problem is, like, baseball is my background, and I always think pitcher, and I don't know how many pitchers we've seen over the years that had single-digit numbers. And, like, Marcus Stroman is the only guy I can think of.
Yeah, that's memory.
Weird. So, like, for me, I just don't like single digits by and large. I'm very anti single digits. I'm not afraid to say it. And I'm sorry, Reed, if that offends you, but that's just the way I feel.
Even when he was a kid, you're turning 7 this year, Nick. It's bull. Yeah. I don't care.
I'm 0-7. I'm 0-7. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next question. Next birthday.
You better decorate that cake with a 0 and a 7 because this is crap.
Right.
We're on to 8.
Yeah. But anyway, going back to the draft, I think it's great. You know, I was asked this question. I forget which interview it was, and I don't mean to say that in like a pretentious.
No, this is good. Nick over here goes to the gym a bunch. You're
weirdo. What do you like? Health? You like being healthy, you big weirdo? I talked to Koff about going to the gym. It's like Chinese algebra to the guy. But
I've got plenty of friends named Jim.
I think the most interesting storyline too at this draft, like sans the players, because we've all talked about these guys ad nauseum, is how many teams are going to trade Like usually we don't see a lot of trades, and especially with the same teams in the top 10, right? They need those top 10 guys. But you look at a lot of teams, right? The Giants, the Jets have multiple picks, the Eagles have multiple picks, the Saints have multiple picks in the first round. I think you're going to see a lot of movement, a lot of trading up from teams like Buffalo, and a lot of trading down, right? We just talked about Deebo Samuel. I think the Jets at number 10, if they get their guy at number 4, whoever that is on their big board as their number 1 guy, I think they trade down. I think they trade down maybe to one of these teams like Buffalo, who needs one of those top cornerbacks. And you might see Deebo Samuel, his name pop up more often in this draft, saying that he's going to become a Jet. It just, it has that feel to it right now that, yes, you could get some of these young guys with Zach Wilson, but Zach Wilson needs more stability. And currently, Corey Davis is your stable wide receiver, right? That's it. It's Elijah Moore, who's fantastic in his early years, but you need some stability. And Deebo Samuel, right? There's connections with that offensive coordinator with Deebo. He used to be in San Francisco. That could be something that you see guys at teams trading up and trading down.
I both love that call and hate that call at the same time. I don't like. I think it makes perfect sense, Reed. So great call. But when we're talking about the Jets, they're going to screw it up in some capacity. They're going to screw Deebo Samuel up in some capacity, and I just don't like that for him. I think he deserves to be somewhere else where he can really shine. Don't move him from where he's in one spot with a quarterback to now another spot where it's like, oh, we think he's going to be a good quarterback, but really he's just more of the same. He deserves better than it.
Well, I alluded to it before. Are we going to get chaos tonight? Like, I mean, Reed, you're certainly suggesting there could be a lot of trades. Nick, do you think that's going to be how round 1 plays out?
Yeah, actually, I was trying to find that ahead of the sweat today, and then I kind of lost track of looking at the NBA stuff and the MLB stuff. But I was trying. I don't know, Reed, if you found it or Adam, but like if there's a prop on how many trades there are going to be in the first round. I know last year we had pools, and I actually should have checked the pool play too, but we had that in the course of it. I think it was like set at 6.5 last year in the first round, and the over, I'm pretty sure, did hit. I couldn't find the bet if there was a bet for this, so I didn't even begin doing the research until that was seen if that was available. So, but yeah, I do think chaos won. So it usually does. I feel like 5 at least will come through tonight, if not 6.
Yeah, and especially in that later, I'm looking at the prop. I don't see them right now, Nick. So I don't know if there is one that you can bet on it. Maybe in pools, but I didn't see any in terms of draft specials. But yeah, I think you're right. I think especially the third, I think there's going to be over 3 or over 2.5 quarterbacks. So I think 3 quarterbacks are going to be drafted in the first round, especially the Desmond Ritter, the Howells of the world, especially late in that first round where they can pick up that 5th option if they're drafted in the first round. So I do think that's the case. And that's where you're going to see it, right? You're going to see it there when those teams are in that 24 to 32 range. And then you're also going to see it, right? Like I mentioned, I think those mid rounds, the Commanders, I think they stay put, but the Vikings, the Jets, 10, 12, those spots, I wouldn't be surprised, guys, too, if Green Bay trades up. They need a wide receiver badly. And like Treylon Burks is.
Please help Aaron Rodgers out. For the love of all the
oh, yeah.
They got 2 picks in the first round. And I wouldn't be surprised if they spend both of those picks on wide receiver. But in order to get one really good one, right? Like Olave or one of these top guys in that top 11, 12 range, I wouldn't be surprised if you see them kind of switch it up and say, hey, look, we got Aaron Rodgers, we have Aaron Jones, we have, Dylan, we have a good core. We need a wide receiver. Please, for the love of God, Green Bay, trade up and get one of these guys. Because if it's Jameson Williams, I like Jahan Dotson a lot. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him a little bit. Sky Moore. There's a lot of wide receivers that could easily go in the first round that is slated to go in the second. So, I do think Green Bay trades up and then gets another receiver late in the first.
Sky Moore's a good call.
2 minutes left here in the show, Nick. You may as well stay for it, even though we're going to talk golf. But the next, I mean, look, at this point, you've hung out so long, you may as well get credit for a full show.
I've edited a lot of Jeff Ulrich articles before, so I can help.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. I mean, I'm glad somebody's reading them. Mexico Open is taking place, Reed, and we currently, not everybody is in the clubhouse, but most guys are. And at the moment, we have a 5-way tie atop the leaderboard at 7 under. Jonathan Burton, John Rahm. John Rahm, of course, the very popular John Rahm going into this tournament. One of the, when it comes to name recognition, certainly far and away the biggest in this event. And he is, part of the lead. Brendan Todd, you have a couple other guys in the mix as well. Several are within a couple of shots. So, so much is going to happen in the coming days. This thing is, far from really having a read on it, other than, props on those who jumped out to a great start out of the gate, Rahm included, and obviously, like I mentioned, Jonathan Bird.
Yeah. I mean, this is a brand new event on tour. So how it's going to play out, we're kind of seeing it right now. A lot of eagles, a ton of eagles. Hubbard's had 2 eagles in a span of 3 holes on par 5s. And so it has the feeling of this is going to be close to 20 under par wins this, right? 21 under par. And if that's the case, this is far from over, because you see these guys early that went out early today shooting 7 under. The wind picks up, and the tournament director said this throughout the week, but the wind picks up here around lunchtime, around noon. So all the guys who are in the afternoon wave are fighting the wind, and that flips, right? Thursday, Friday, you switch your tee times, AM, PM, PM, AM. And so you take a look at some of those players, right? Hubbard is someone right now that is at 4 under par, and he's playing in the afternoon. If he can stay put, or even make it even better, right? Because you had a par 5 that's reachable into a number 18. And if he gets to 5 under, that's going to be really good when you talk about what he can do on Friday if he stays the course, right? If he doesn't really screw up his ball striking. So there's a lot of Brendan Todd. All this guy does is win PGA events, right? Like not on like the contiguous 48. All he does is go to like these tropical strokes gained tropical, and he does well, right? That's his bag. So it's fun to see this course. It looks fantastic. I'm jealous that I'm not there or in Vegas, right? Like DraftKings could have sent
so many
me to
places
Mexico.
You want to be right now.
Right. Mexico or Vegas. I would have taken either, because if I was in Vegas, I could have been in Paris, I could have been in New York, could have been everywhere.
That's right.
But no, I'm excited to watch this tournament because it looks gorgeous. And I'm going to need something to come down off the NFL draft, because it's going to be crazy.
Nick, before we go, what did Jeff write about the Mexico Open?
You know what's funny is CT Pan was one of his guys, and CT Pan's off to a good start. And I know he's had a few a couple top 10 finishes this year, or top 11 as well. And he's what plus 240. Hey, the juice is switching up right now as I'm talking about it. Look at that. But he's what, plus 240 to finish in the top 10. There you go, CT Pan. I know Bird's the word, but we're going
plus
with
250 now.
Yes.
Constant movement.
Oh, it's because I started talking too much. Shoot. Okay, never mind. Just get it. Now it's 240 again. All right.
It's bouncing. Get it while it's hot.
It's like Ape Coin, man. You got to get it at the right time.
Oh Lord.
There we go.
I'm not ready for that.
Producer Eamon's going to turn on his camera. Did I hear Ape Coin?
And another thing too, this is outside of the Mexico Open. Tiger Woods was spotted at Southern Hills today, going through a practice round for the PGA Championship next month, and that's what he did at Augusta. It looks like he's gearing up to play the PGA Championship, and I believe the last time I checked his odds, they were around the mid 3s for the PGA Championship. He won, I forget what year it was, like 2007, when the PGA Championship was held at the same course, and Tiger won. So a little fodder. He's out there. His jet was spotted at Tulsa Airport, where private jets fly, and they land with the big T-Dub sign on the tail. And the man was in the foot joys and the leg sleeve, just knocking it around at Southern Hills.
Well, we've been knocking it around over the last almost an hour, but we have to go because there's a Madden sim coming your way. It's Hot Atlanta and Philadelphia matching up in Simland. So enjoy that. Obviously, everyone, make sure you get your lineups in for the Madden sim beginning in about 90 seconds or so. And remember, we're an hour and 20 minutes away from more baseball. There's plenty of hockey tonight. NBA playoffs resuming in about an hour. You got the NFL draft starting up in 2 hours, and lots of content coming your way. And if you want to, you can even go back and relive some of the show because a lot of it is not stale quite yet. So enjoy it. For Nick Fryer, who thought he was going to be here for about 10 minutes and stayed the entire show because we're that much fun. Reed T. Fowler, always here on Thursdays. I am Adam Kaufman, back from vacation. Couldn't be happier to be with all of you. Guys, thanks.
Look at this guy.
Thanks to Aim and Drew, everybody. Bye-bye.